All right, my name is Ian Yoakum, and I am the Incident Commander for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office Red Team.
And good morning, my name is Link Smith. I'm the Incident Commander for the Oregon Department of Forestry's Incident Management Team 3. These were historic conditions that we heard about. We knew the winds were predicted, the high winds, low humidities. Unfortunately, the timing with that is our forests have been through some extended droughts, so fuel moistures were extremely low. And I want to talk about drought conditions. For the last several years, in fact, there's areas, even in this area right now, that we're 20 inches behind rainfall totals as where we'd normally be on the average. And so when these historic winds came in, and I'm talking wind speeds of gusting 50, 60, in some locations 70 miles an hour, and then record low humidities down to the single digits, so 5 to 10% humidities blowing from the east winds. Just really, put us into a condition that we just haven't seen in our lifetimes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think for us, for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office and our structural crews, our missions are a little bit different, but alike in the sense that it's about supporting the communities. And the way the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office is asked or called for assistance is through the Conflagration Act, through the governor's office. And it works when local fire districts have a large fire, a large incident. They put all their resources on there. They call for the mutual aid within the county. Those resources respond. And when then the fire gets just too big and there's just too much fire on the landscape, they have run out of resources. They call for the Conflagration Act through the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office. And once that's done, that allows the incident management team, but also task forces from all the 36 counties around the state to mobilize and then to send resources. So on the night, on the 7th, as the fire started to move, obviously lots of people were involved, Upper McKenzie Fire, McKenzie Fire District, Mohawk Fire District, and the Sheriff's Office really working to get those evacuations out, getting people out of the area as the fire moved so quickly due to the weather and due to the event of that storm. We arrived on Tuesday, early morning on the 8th. Oregon State Fire Marshals brought in just 2 task forces because of the large amount of fire across the entire state, and we were able to engage. Highway 126 was a priority. We knew that we had local fire districts up behind in the Blue River area, citizens that were sheltered in place. So our goal early in that morning was to bring those task forces in as quickly as possible, try to get that road open up with the partnership with ODF, ODOT, just to try to make sure we could get in to get those citizens and our fire crews out of that location.
We rolled in a little bit later that afternoon. Again, we assembled our team by midday, started rolling into this area. Again, we have a little different mission, and we work together in a partnership with State Fire Marshal. They were more up the gut of this fire, working on the structures, trying to protect structures. Oregon Department of Forestry is the landowner, is the wildland component there. So we started, setting up a fire camp here, bringing in resources. That would be the bulldozers and the hand crews, the wildland fire engines to start working on the perimeter. So again, we worked hand in hand, basically again, working together under a unified command here, but with Ian's team and the structural resources really focusing on, again, the structure protection, more of that infrastructure, and then we were focused on that wildland component, again, trying to contain the perimeter as much as we could.
We've talked a lot about resources and how many that we would have needed. And I think on that first 24, 48 hours, I don't think any resources could have really prevented what had happened as far as that firestorm that pushed. But we did have to get creative as a team through partnerships, through relationships with the Lane County Fire Defense Chief, making sure that we were able to fill those task forces, and most of those task forces came from within Lane County. We've done stuff that we haven't ever done before. We pulled in larger departments in the area, worked closely with the city of Eugene and Springfield, really trying to get some extra crews in there to work within those task forces. We put firefighters in pickup trucks and utility vehicles to work within those task forces to really start that point protection and that mop up around those structures. It did feel thin, but I think given the access and the roads and the amount of wildland crews and iron and dozers and all of those things, if we would have brought multiple task forces in, we just wouldn't have been able to access a lot of the fire area. So yeah, we did have to get creative, and again, really appreciate the support of Lane County, support of those task forces. Again, 55 different fire agencies, structural fire agencies, came to assist our team and the community. So it was definitely coming together.
I would just add, again, talk about resources being stretched thin would be the way I'd say it. We haven't seen this much fire. In our lifetimes, we've never seen this much fire on the landscape, you know, from north clear down to the south, and truly mega fires. We just haven't seen west side fires of this size and scope and the speed at which they spread. And so, again, trying to mobilize resources, again, from across the strait, we all went down below our drawdown levels where we say we aren't going to drop below on local districts. We sent everything we could to try to stop these. And the reality is, again, those conditions, those first couple days when you have those kind of historic conditions, you're not going to stop a fire. I don't care what you threw at it, how many resources, you just got to get out of the way. And so really the first couple days we're trying to organize, build our plans, get the resources here, and wait for an opportunity that we can engage. And those winds finally died down, and we start, again, putting the big iron in there. We worked a lot with our local resources. So again, dozers and feller bunchers and the local landowners can really bring that logging component to help us out there on the wildland side. And at this time, you know, we've even brought resources as far away as Canada, Florida, North Carolina, you name it. Our neighboring states have really pulled. We've got structured task forces from Idaho, you know, pulling resources from everywhere we can there to again put into this effort.
Well, I think, you know, we're all happy to see a little rain for sure. I know the rain did a couple things for us. It obviously, you know, helped with some of those hot spots and some of those things that were smoldering. It also kind of opened up the air a little bit, you know, almost for 9 days, 7, 8 days, we didn't see the sun from the command post through the fire line. So it certainly helped kind of get us some more light and you know, kind of see. It also though created some, you know, some other difficulties and some real safety concerns, which is, you know, the trees, the amount of trees, the snags, the widowmakers, which, you know, are that are falling all throughout the damaged area around those structures, around those areas. We've had some landslides. You know, again, the access off of Highway 126, it's our main critical in and out to the fire line, and our job is to make sure that every firefighter goes home safe and that the citizens can to get out and to stay out, so so those risks don't hurt them. So the rain has certainly helped, but also has created some additional work. In fact, the Sheriff's Office started, and Lane County Emergency Management really started hard at working on what would a landslide look like, and kind of doing some predictive mapping and thoughts of, and we actually ended up having to leave some level 3s in place, not only because of the fire, but also because of the risk of some of those landslides, some of those rocks that were moving down onto the roads. So it has been a huge help putting out there, but it also has created some other obstacles as well.
As far as longer term, you know, I think one of the misconceptions is we got some rain, which is great. I mean, I'll never argue getting a little precipitation on the fire, but I like to use the analogy, you know, people think that just because we got a little bit of rain, the fire's out and we're done with it. The reality is we could still have another month of fighting fire on all these across the landscape. I like to use the analogy of a campfire. You know, if you've got, most everybody's had a campfire in their life, and you can throw a bucket of water on it and it snuffs it out real quick, but you know, half an hour later, if you don't stir those things around, that campfire will slowly dry and come back to life. And that's, you know, we've got a 260-acre fire, right, or 260 miles of perimeter around this thing. It's like a giant campfire. And so if you're going to throw a half an inch to an inch of water on it, that kind of snuffs it, knocks it down for a little while, but without getting crews and engines in there to actually stir it up and add more water to it, you're not going to put it out. And you know, the fear is that another east wind event could come back in here in the next week or two. This country's known for having east wind events in October. And so if we don't continue to address it, keep putting personnel on it, even during these times of the rain and the moisture, it's not going to go out. So again, there's still a longer term ahead of us here. This little bit of rain's a nice little shot in the arm on it, but a lot more work ahead.
For the Oregon State Fire Marshals, today, the 19th, is going to be our last operational period. And you know, a lot goes into consideration of that. Evacuation levels, the fire itself, From a structural standpoint and from a mission for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, our job is to protect the structures. And we have, within all of the task forces that have worked this fire since the beginning, has been point protection and mopping up a minimum of 100 feet around every structure. We've done that. Actually, we've not only done it once, we've done it twice over the almost 30 miles of highway and access to a lot of those homes. So we feel like we're in a good place to start sending some of those crews homes back to their home agencies and their families, knowing though, it's about planning. It's about thinking about, the next scenario or worst case scenario. If we were needed, we would be called the same way. The fire defense chief, the county chief understands, is comfortable with. They would bring in those mutual aids just like they did the night of the 7th. And then if they needed more help, they would call the state and we would definitely come back. We feel comfortable and confident that we believe that the local fire districts, the work of the wildland crews, I know the wildland crews are going to do a tactical patrol, making sure that they're looking in the whole fire footprint, specifically around those homes and those houses. And I know that people just want to know where is their house. And I would encourage you, there's a call center. I would encourage you to work through the Lane County Emergency Management and the Lane County website. All of the damage assessment has been completed. We had urban search and rescue from FEMA that was here. The Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office task forces literally went out to every address, took pictures, and have a really good idea of all the damage that has been done throughout the fire. So I really encourage you to call that line if this fire has impacted your home. Look at the website, get that information. The problem is, and I know a lot of people are seeing people go up into the Beachy fire or along Highway 22, and they're actually able to see their homes. The real fear is still that highway, the landslides, the trees. It is not safe to be in that. It's not safe even for our firefighters, but obviously that is, part of their responsibility, their job. But we just got to keep people out until we can get those roads cleared and let you get back into your community.
I'll just close by saying, these are just catastrophic events. Again, from north to south across the state. In our lifetimes, we've never seen anything like this. The amount of home loss of life, we're just not used to here in Oregon. You kind of read about that being a California situation, for instance. And so to see that here has really been, again, just hard to comprehend. But on the positive side, it's been really neat. The cooperation, the amount of the organizations coming together here that work with specifically on this fire, I can speak to best of Lane County, the Sheriff's Department, the Emergency Management, all the fire districts coming together, State Fire Marshal's Office coming in, other states coming in. I mean, it's just a tremendous cooperative effort. Already you're seeing on the recovery effort, we're working closely with all the utility companies, for instance, and trying to clear those hazards that Ian spoke about. So that's been pretty incredible to see that kind of coordination and already what I would call a recovery effort starting. So it's pretty neat. Locally here too, the school district, the Springfield School District opened up these schools to us. I think we've used every one of their schools here. We've got incident command posts, fire camps set up here, and they just opened the doors, and without that, we couldn't, again, we can't take care of currently over 1,000 people on this fire. And without that kind of support and those locations, we just couldn't do it. So again, that's, if you want to look at the positive side, the cooperation and coordination is spectacular.